Good morning from Vancouver International Airport, YVR. And today I'm going to be doing a flight to Calgary on WestJet. First time flying them, so it should be interesting to see what they're like. Remember, if you like videos about travel, go ahead and click that little subscribe button down there in the lower right hand corner. I'll also be taking a flight later on from Calgary to Yellowknife. There's the card in the upper corner for that one if you want to watch that video. So let's go. Vancouver, let's check it out. This is Records Travels. Let's take a trip. So my flight today on WestJet from Vancouver to Calgary covers about 428 miles and has a scheduled flying time of 1 hour and 22 minutes. This flight is scheduled to depart Vancouver at 6 a.m., with boarding to begin about 40 minutes before that. I found myself in the Vancouver airport at about 4:30 in the morning and there was nobody around. But let's head upstairs to the check-in area and see. Again, it's not very crowded, but you can see that WestJet has a pretty substantial presence there. They have about 80 daily departures out of YVR at this point in time. And in looking at the big departures board to check and see if I can find my flight, I'm able to see that it is actually the first flight on the board, the earliest departure, and that's flight 112 to Calgary. That's where I'm going to be headed first today. Even though nowadays everybody has electronic boarding passes on their phone, I still like to get a hard copy just in case there's ever any issues or difficulties with that. It just makes things go faster in case there are. So heading to the kiosk to get checked in, pretty standard. You enter your confirmation number. It just verifies who you are. You have the option to print your boarding passes and also see if there's any opportunity to change your seats. On this flight out of Vancouver, all the seats were already pretty much taken. Checking on the Yellowknife flight, I didn't have anybody next to me, so that was good. So I went ahead and printed those off, and it only took just a few moments in order to get those, and then just verify that everything on there looks good, and then head off to security. So after the boarding passes print off, I go ahead and take a look at them, make sure everything looks good. I've got 18F on the first flight out of Vancouver to Calgary, and then 7A on the connecting flight to Yellowknife. Now, at this hour, the security checkpoint was not open, which was a little bit frustrating to me because I had planned to get settled in the lounge and get something to eat and relax a little bit, but instead I found myself in a line that was getting very long, very, very quick. But when they did open security, they did ask if anybody has a Nexus card. And because I had a Nexus card, I was expedited through security as a trusted traveler. So I'm a huge advocate of getting a Nexus card. And one of the tips that I have for people is that if you get a Nexus card, it gets you TSA PreCheck and global entry for free. And it's much less than the cost of any one of those individual programs. And so I strongly recommend getting a Nexus card if you travel with any kind of frequency between the US and Canada. It'll definitely save you some time. So once we're through security, again, just double check to make sure what the gate is, and looks like we're going to be at gate B21. So just kind of taking a look at the signs. Vancouver Airport was pretty easy to navigate around in, but we had a little bit of a walk, so let's get to it. Let's head off to the gate. So it didn't take too terribly long to get to the actual gate, and once I got there I found that it was relatively empty. There was really not a lot going on there, as you can see. And but the amazing thing about this was that everybody stayed seated until their particular boarding group was called, which was really nice to not see people crowding the gate area. Now I couldn't get a really good shot of the plane. You can see it's a 737-600. It's the plane on the left. It's kind of obscured by the jetway, but you can see the plane on the right, and they're pretty similar. So now it's time to board. I was in the second boarding group, which was pretty good. And so heading on down to the jetway and getting onto the plane. Again, for this flight, I'm in seat 18F. That's my usual preferred seat if I'm flying in the economy cabin, is to be towards the back of the plane on the right-hand side, preferably in a window seat, and so that's where I'm headed. You can see on this WestJet plane, the 737-600, They do have a first class section, which is a 2-2 configuration, and then it switches to 3-3 as you go through the economy section, which you're going to see pretty much in any 737 aircraft. And again, getting to my seat, which was 18F, right on the window, and getting settled in. And one thing you can see is that there is no in-flight entertainment system. Instead, you have like a magazine storage area there in the back of the seat. But like I say, there are entertainment options. You just have to download the WestJet app in order to be able to access that. But there was a surprising amount of content that was available. You can see also that there's not a ton of leg room, but again, this is a relatively short flight. You have a small seat back pocket, and there is also a very easily accessible universal power port and USB port there for you to use for your personal electronic devices, which I really liked the location of that. It was really, really great. And then of course ahead above you, you have the individual reading lights and the air vents that you can use to adjust as you see fit. So it's a nice morning to fly, get myself settled in and get comfortable, and get ready to take off here fairly soon. And I also made this note that even though it was a full flight, there was still plenty of overhead bin space. And I know at this point the flight still isn't fully boarded, but it was definitely the case that even once there were all the people in the seats, there was still space in the overhead bins, which I just can't recall the last time I saw that on a domestic flight in the United States. So I don't know what they're doing in Canada, but people just seem to kind of be a little bit more mindful of what they're bringing onto a plane, and I think that was kind of nice to see, actually. So it was a beautiful morning in Vancouver. You could see a really, really nice sunrise, some high clouds in the sky, but a really, really good day for the short flight to Calgary. So as we push away from the gate and get ready to go, I'm excited about this flight. I'm looking forward to the day ahead. It's going to be a good day. So pulling out from the gate in Vancouver, I could see that there were a handful of other WestJet planes that were parked there that were no doubt going to be heading up into the air shortly after my flight. But the plane that caught my eye was the one off to the left-hand side. And this is a plane that belongs to Canadian North Airlines. And Canadian North, first of all, I think has an awesome livery with the polar bear on the tail. But they are one of the airlines that flies to the most remote regions in northern Canada. And I think it'd be amazing to fly on them someday. But that's not going to be today. Today I'm on a WestJet to Calgary. And so now it's time to get up in the air. So here's the takeoff, and this takeoff is filmed with the GoPro Hero 7 in the time warp feature on 5x speed. So up in the air we go. And just below the tip of the wing there is, on that little peninsula, is the University of British Columbia. And, you know, and aside from the aircraft, I obviously love seeing the terrain below and the geography. And this is a point in particular, right on the US-Canadian border. There's the Tawasin Ferry Terminal, and there's also Point Roberts. And like it says right there, it's a peninsula just below the 49th parallel. It's kind of that little square-shaped piece of land that you see there. But it's only accessible through Canada by land. And so that's the only way to get there. Now, I did say that there was a fair amount of content that was available through the WestJet app. So if we take a look at that, you can see pretty easy to connect. And the first thing that I took a look at was the flight tracker, which I love to see and know where I'm at any given time, so I can take a look out the window and just kind of have that perspective on what it is that I'm looking at below, whether it be mountains or cities or other geographic features. I really like that. And then you can look at the content, the entertainment content that's available. And like I said, I was actually quite surprised that there was so much that was there in terms of television and movies. And I checked out a few of these just to see how well they played, and they played terrific. There was no lag or delay or anything like that, and you know, you pretty much had as much as you wanted at your fingertips. Now, even for a flight this short, it's too short to be able to watch an actual movie, but you know, having TV programs available that you can watch, those kind of help fill that time very nicely, you know, should you choose to do that. So as we're kind of nearing the halfway point of the flight, it's time for the snack service to begin. So the flight attendants begin moving throughout the cabin, giving away the complimentary beverages and snacks. But one of the things that WestJet does have is an onboard menu where you can order different items a la carte and pay for them. And I'm not going to read the whole menu to you, but just kind of get a quick overview of some of the choices that are there. You know, obviously different kinds of sandwiches, pizza, other snacks like that you can order if you are so inclined. And the one thing I did think was a little bit interesting was that they offered different types of earbuds for purchase for customers on board. They could choose either a basic pair or a hi-fi pair for a little bit more money. As far as the food went, I just went with the freebies, which is the Diet Coke and the bag of pretzels. Works for me on an hour and 20-minute flight. I was more than happy with that. So looking out the window, you can start to see some mountains below. Those are the Canadian Rockies, and what that says to me is that we're getting pretty dang close. So just pop it on to the WestJet app. I want to take a look and see if I can get an idea of what our relative position is as we're coming into Calgary, and it looks like we're getting pretty close. So basically we drop in over the mountains and we'll land at the airport. And so you get some really, really nice views. Getting into Calgary, there was definitely more sunshine and less clouds, and now we're descending into the airport. And once you get off the mountains, you know, Calgary is very much like, I always say it's like Texas and Oklahoma. It's kind of in the plains area of Canada, and it's very, very open, very spacious, and but it's a good sized city. So coming in on final approach, I had the sun right off the wing, which kind of, you know, got in the shot a little bit, but you get the idea. Go ahead and touch down and land there in Calgary, and that brings the completion of the flight. It was a very, very smooth, very quick, very easy flight, and very enjoyable, good service, all around a very, very positive experience. And so my first impressions with WestJet were very, very good. I was very, very pleased with the product, with the flight. I thought it was great value and great service, and I was very, very happy with it. So it was very, very nice and enjoyable. And if you look off just in the distance there, you can see downtown Calgary, not too far from the airport. And it's time to pull in towards the gate. You can see we pass a couple of Air Canada planes that are parked there in Calgary. And you can see the control tower. The Air Canada hangar. Again, bright, sunshiny day there in Calgary. Very, very clear. Great day for flying. No doubt about it. So as we pull into the gate, this kind of brings the conclusion to this video. Again, I welcome any comments that you might have, any feedback as far as the video goes. If you liked it, didn't like it, things that you think could be better, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'd greatly appreciate any feedback, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching. This is Records Travels.